Great, so let's start our event for today. Dear dignitaries, panel of speakers, and the lovely audience, good evening to you all from Bahrain. It's a pleasure and honor to welcome you all to our special event of today with the title, How to Stay Effective and Efficient During and Post-COVID-19 Era. Today, the event is very special, and we have brought a panel from the government, banking, education, as well as IT sectors. I'll be asking them their views and how their sectors they see dealing with the COVID-19 situation and how the business is continuing as usual or better. But before that, let me inform you that this event is not only from TBS, it is a joint event organized by TBS and NGN together. Did I say TBS? Did I say NGN? Yes, I did. So who is TBS and who is NGN? Let me invite the chairman of the TBS to say a few words about the society. The chairman of TBS is Mr. Michel Al-Hello. He is the director of technology at Arcapita Group, responsible for the firm's digital transformation of technology, systems, and infrastructure globally. Prior to joining Arcapita, he served as a senior network specialist at the Ministry of Finance and National Economy till 2005. Michel currently served as a board member and at the Social Insurance Organization, Usul Asset Management, and BBK Bank. Additionally, Michel serves as a member of the External Validation Panel, General Directorate of National Qualification Framework, and member of the Program Industry Advisor Committee in the University of Bahrain. I don't know how Michel is handling all this in his young age, but let me invite him to tell us who TBS is. Michel, floor is all yours.
Thank you, Khalid, so much for the intro. I would like to welcome everyone on this webinar. It is our first virtual event. We spent the last 12 months preparing for a couple of key events that we conducted, and I think most of the people that we have today have attended some of those events in the past. Just to recap, TPS is actually the Technology and Business Society, has been established in 2012. It is a non-for-profit organization. Our main mission is actually to collaborate the IT industry in terms of people working in the IT industry, the technology providers, and companies that are benefiting from those services. We would like to see Bahrain number one country across the region and being the leader in adaptation of technology, not just to utilize and use technology, but as well to become the industry focal points of the region. TPS has conducted several initiatives in the past. It's not the time to talk about it. I will make sure that we send a copy of the TPS profile for all attendees. I would like to thank NGN for their initiatives of preparing for this event. NGN is a Bahraini company established in 2015. They are a system integrator, and they have a wide technologies that basically all emerging technology they can provide and manage for their clients. One of their main, let's say, great value add is manage security services, which is something that we all are keen to explore and maybe will help us manage our budget more effectively in the coming period. I don't want to take more of your time. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best and wish all the panelists a successful event. Thank you so much, Khalid.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michel, for the introduction. Now we know who TBS is, this Technology Business Society and NGN partnership we are doing this particular event. Fellow audience, as we will proceed with the panelists, I'm sure most of you would have a lot of questions to ask. I'll request you all to put all your questions in the chat section, and we'll be taking them towards the end of our panel discussion. We have 4 panels today. After the 4th panel discussion, we'll take all the questions, but all the panels will be around, and they'll be answering all your questions, inshallah, one by one. Now, let me invite our first panelist speaker. Our first panelist speaker is Dr. Khalid Mutawah. He is from IGA. Now, I asked him, who is Khalid? And now I can tell everyone who is Khalid. Khalid, or let me say Dr. Khalid, he is a visionary and in technology and business. He has designed robust IT architecture and infrastructure. He believes he can solve any business issue when it comes to IT and keeping the cost and the risk to the minimum. He oversees and contributed the Enterprise Architecture Initiative at the IGA. His contribution also includes establishing service-oriented architecture towards application development for the government entities. He is a key member in creating IT transformation program for government entities in Bahrain. Our audience, please welcome Dr. Khalid Mutawah from IGA.
Thank you, Khalid. Thank you. I'd like first to thank the organizers and welcome the audience as well, and my colleagues, the panelists. And I think this is a great gatherings where we can discuss different topics about COVID-19 from different perspectives.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Dr. Khalid, with your permission, let me ask my team to run a poll before we start our discussion and know what government is doing in terms of the COVID issue. Can I ask my team to please play the poll? There's increase in usage of e-government services during COVID-19 era. That's the question. Let's give it 10 seconds and then we'll go back to our discussion. So dear audience, please vote. It's the opportunity to get the feedback and the answers and replies from the right person. Once the poll is over, can I request to display the results? Wow, 98%. They do see increase in the e-government services when it comes to COVID-19. Thank you very much. We can close the poll now. Now, we know how government is taking a lot of initiative in terms of giving good services to the citizens. So, Dr. Khalid, let me ask you this question. With the pandemic situation where everything has got disturbed and the world is talking about the new normal, what is the new normal for government and government authorities or entities for day-to-day businesses for the citizens?
Yes. Thank you, Khalid, for these good questions. Let me take you and the audience back just for, I would say, a few seconds because of the time, just to see how we started the digital transformation journey and how did it shift significantly when it says the situation of COVID-19 came recently. So the digital transformations was opening the door for new channels in order to approach the public services or to deliver public services, and these digital channels that happens to serve the public service in a better way was one channels of other channels where citizen can perform their public services. It was a choice was an option at one time back on the past. But I would say a few years ago, okay, the digital services was given to citizen as one options. But it's happened that when COVID-19 hits the globe and the world, we have witnessed significant shifts where digital services or I would say electronic channels become the default channels, the channels where citizen has the only access to the public services. And this is why we have seen in the last 3 months huge investments on performing digital transformation for public services. A lot of services that we used to spend sometime years to convince the business owners to transform these services into digital services. It's happened in a month and in a weeks these times, because people's adoption to e-services accelerated, became much faster, and the convenient way for them to approach the public or to get the public services. I believe now the new norms becomes the digital services for citizens. I believe that's now the futures will talk about digital service as the default channels. Few years ago, traditional service was the default channels. I can see now the changes happening in front of our eyes, and digital service become, yes, the default channels. And the government now is talking about policies that will make e-channels as a default channels in order to push and encourage people to go only with digital services for their convenience, for their health, for their safety. Adding to this, how much these digital service will add benefits to the government in terms of optimizations, in terms of delivering better services. So yes, we are seeing that big shifts is happening on the way public services delivered. And sometimes these crises bring changes with them, bring push for people to the borders and beyond the expectations. And it's happening that COVID-19 has encouraged the adoption to digital services. And I think the futures will be, as I said, a digital service as a default service for the public service.
Now, talking about the government entities who already asked to utilize the AWS services, do you think the AWS services has played a major role in Bahrain for the government organizations to help in the digital transformation, and they're able to continue the services in current situation we are in?
Yes, that's the AWS as a cloud services, as a cloud managed services. I think they have contributed to the digital transformations in terms of accelerating the digital transformation process itself. Every IT professional knows that the biggest investments that happens whenever you start a digital transformation strategy is to set up your infrastructures and to make the platform ready in order to bring digital service on top of these infrastructures. I think with the existence of the AWS as a cloud services, they have accelerated these digital transformation strategies and initiatives. And for me to give an examples of how we utilize this during the COVID-19 situations, we were able to bring up the EduNet portal, which is the educational portal that deliver e-learning service to more than 140,000 students in 1 week, which used to manage only around 30,000 students. Okay, but because of the situation and the requirements for students to stay at home, there was an access required for more than 140,000 students to this portal. Now imagine if we are in a normal situation and we require to set up an infrastructure for 140,000 students or more than 140,000 students. that will requires months and maybe years, okay, to set it up and to make it work. Now with the existence of the cloud services and AWS services, we managed to do this in 1 week just. So yes, they did help in accelerating the transformation. It did helps on when we make the app, the Bahrain app Bewares, which is sitting on AWS cloud services. It did happens in a short times. We utilize the big data tools and the machine learning analysis in order to generate reports, okay, for decision makers about COVID-19. So it did helps accelerating the transformation, and I think now on the near future we'll see more projects moving toward the cloud, because utilizing the tools and utilizing the power of computing of the cloud will help us to make things faster, will help us to make ideas more innovative. It will help us to focus more on our business and stop worrying about infrastructures and about other IT matters.
Doctor, what do you think, according to you, what are the lessons learned by the globe, especially in Bahrain region, from this pandemic, and how you think it will shape the future government working style?
Yeah, so Khaled, that's, I think, the opportunities that we have found during COVID-19 situations. We have witnessed that innovative ideas can only be seen when there's a crisis. And I think the government now is working in different policies and adjusting different policy to unlock tools and methods that will enable more innovative and creative ideas to come up. We have seen many people making many ideas, many good ideas during these situations, and trying not just to adjust the technology, but also trying to make business processes to work better, regulation to be more flexible in order to adopt such new ideas and innovative ideas. So I think the new government will be talking more about innovations and how we can enable innovation, how we can reduce bureaucracies and routines and the processes that might delay the delivery of services. How can we make creative ideas support more quality services with the help of the technologies? So I can see that innovation will become the futures of the coming governments, and more focus will be on not just to adopt technology, but to adopt technology in a smart way and in innovative ways that will make countries leadings on different sectors. And I think Bahrain has this opportunity, and the government of Bahrain actually showed that they are capable to achieve such good and excellent ideas, and they have produced many services and products. And I think the opportunities is there, and the government will make this idea happen with the changes that will happen in near future.
Doctor, with the work from home or remote access, we always see a risk of a cyber threat. Cyber attacks are increasing. So how do you see that IGA is managing those? Because they are managing a lot of citizens' information on transactions.
Of course, the government has cyber security strategy, and they are working according to this strategy and aligning all initiatives toward this strategy. Although the government is setting the controls that will protect government assets, information of citizen, putting the required law on a place in order to make sure that data privacy is protected, and government secrets is treated with the high sensitivity and with all controls. They are protecting citizens, they are protecting people's on their work and on their jobs by setting different technologies. However, we believe that security is a shared responsibilities. Yes, the government is doing their best in order to make sure that information is exchanged in a secure manner, but again, it's a shared responsibilities. So as the government work, government also expecting citizens to be aware of these risks and to be aware of securities, technologies and security threats. This is why we set always in our strategies initiative in order to educate people, educate students on their schools, educate people in their work, educate people on the public about this risk, about the threats. So I think education is very important to contribute on that, to make sure that people are aware about this risk. And from the government side, I think the government has a clear strategy about what they want to do, and we cannot say that we will perfect the security, but we are working toward perfections. Okay, and as we are growing on that matters in terms of readiness, I think the other side also is growing new ideas in order to prepare attacks, not just for government, for different sectors in the countries. So you have to be ready for everything, and I think working together will help us to achieve our goals.
Thank you, Doctor. I do agree whatever you said, because I'm also part of the government cert. We get a lot of timely updates for our own organization, which will help us to protect our infrastructure. Thank you very much, Doctor, for your time and the information you've shared with us. Please be with us. Don't leave us. We'll have question answer sessions towards the end of it. We'll not leave you right now, but we'll give you a slight rest as we go and invite our next panel speaker. Thank you very much. Doctor,
thank you, Khaled.
You can turn off your camera and let me have Mr. Mohamed Bucheeri. Mr. Mohamed Bucheeri, can you turn on your camera?
Hello.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid.
Thank you, Mohamed. Now, Mohamed Bucheeri is the department head, IT operations and infrastructure at BBK, responsible for streamlining the BBK's IT operations and infrastructure strategies initiatives. Prior to BBK, he has worked in multiple other organizations, but he is an MBA from DePaul University, Master in Computer Science in IT, Bachelor's in Computer Science from University of Bahrain, and he possesses various advanced professional and technical certifications in IT and security. Mr. Mohamed Bucheeri, welcome.
Thank you very much, Khalid, and I would like to thank TPS and NGN for arranging for such amazing event.
Now, in our format, before we go to have more discussion, I'll ask my team to please run a poll and see the result and the feedback from the audience before we start. Can we have the poll? Yes. The poll question is, did the COVID-19 increase the dependency on digital platforms? Did the COVID-19 increase the dependency on digital platforms? Let's give it 10 seconds and get the results. Wow, 95% say yes, that the COVID-19 has increased the dependency on digital platforms. What is your view, Mr. Mohamed Bucheeri?
Yes, this is a clear evidence. There is a shift on the expectation for the customer and the reliance on the digital platforms. I think COVID situation created a huge shift on the customer expectation if we come to this banking services. The banking sector has been shifted during the last 6 months in terms of multiple areas, and because of multiple reasons. The first reason, we found ourselves in the middle of this situation where the physical interaction, the physical movement is not available, which forced a lot of the customer part of our customer base forced to use the alternative channels or a digital banking channels. After using this digital experience, they start liking it, and it will become the normal experience to doing banking with our services and products. The second reason where I can see a reason for this shift is a lot of principles we use to have it as a principle and a mandatory requirement on the banking has been shattered, has been disappeared. For example, we used to hear that the social contact is required during the banking services. I need to see the person face to face to do a banking transaction. Or another example is to have a physical premise for a bank is something mandatory. I cannot deal with a bank without any physical presence. But all of these things has been disappeared now. We can see big banks opened without single physical branch, except maybe a head office somewhere very far from you. This easiness and various options created a huge competition between the banks, especially in Bahrain. We are a well-matured banking country with a huge number of banks availing all the services for the users. For this reason, we found a lot of services available for our customers. There is a huge competition providing a lot of services and a lot of options for our customers with various product and ways to do banking. And all this is very convenient, very easy to perform, available on all the channels.
Mohamed, banks are very popular that they invest a lot on the technology and they regularly upgrades. I think they're the fastest in the industry who upgrade the technology because of the demands. Now, with this COVID-19, how did you see in terms of infrastructure and the service upgrades happen in a very short span of time? And what were the challenges everyone has faced?
In terms of upgrades, actually, if you allow me, I would like to share some numbers regarding the huge expansion during COVID-19 situation of the utilization in our channels. For example, and I'm quoting from Central Bank of Bahrain.
CBB.
Yeah. This comparison is very recent. It has been published on their website and their social media. There is 700% increase on Fawri Plus transactions. 700% increase on the Fawri Plus transaction, and around 90% increase on Fawatir services, for example, 31% increase on Fawri transaction, and 81% increase on the payment gateway transaction. Additionally, or on the same area, we can see reduction and reduce on the ATM transaction. We saw around 8% reduction on the ATM transaction, which used to be one of the major banking channel for most of the customers. We can see a reduction during the COVID-19 situation. Of course, we can rely this because of the physical isolation and the social distancing requirement enforced by the national team. This expansion and the surge on the transaction forced us to invest on the infrastructure to accommodate this increase on the volume. There is a lot of challenges. If you want me to move to the challenge, a lot of challenges with this change, because now the banks changing, providing all.
Let me interrupt you here and ask you for one challenge only. How do the banks working towards the cyber security challenge, which is the biggest challenge for any bank?
Yeah, cyber security, I agree, it is a huge challenge, and it comes from two main reasons. The first one is the high utilization. As we saw, the high utilization opened the door for big portion of our customer to utilize our channel. This customer base are not familiar with the digital banking services, which expose them to the new challenges comes from the digital experience. The other challenge, or the security challenge, comes from the work from home, which is big area, will introduce a lot of security and cyber security threats. As we know, people taking their laptops, moving to their home to work from there. It is different network, different infrastructure. We know home networks. It is less secure. All the investment where the work providing is not available at your home. And the moment you open your laptop and place it in your network with other devices like your TVs, your family members' laptops, without any security measures around it, like firewalls or routers or antiviruses, this provides a weak, less secure network. We saw a lot of attackers taking advantage of this situation, providing, for example, malicious app on the app stores and the Play stores with all this stealing with the ransoms and stealing information from your devices, and creating a huge challenge for the IT people to enforce the work policy. As we know, within the network, the work network, we can enforce a lot of security policy. However, if this device is under your home network, it is very difficult. A lot of recommendation I can suggest here to improve this situation is to work on the improving the security policy of the organization. Start using the virtual desktop environment and try to encapsulate the user experience. Even if he is working from home, we will try to encapsulate it to mimic the work network. Some organization will recommend not to go for personal devices,
yes,
and capitalize on user awareness, just to improve
that will be security features,
yes,
which will be taken outside your network. So
yes.
tell me something, since you're from a banking sector. Banking sector in all the regions, especially in Bahrain, they're highly regulated.
Yeah.
Do you see that there will be some new policies or law which will come from the CBB post-COVID-19 era, because things may change after the COVID era?
Yes, of course. Just here, let me highlight that CBB are always working in proactive mode, and we can see them from the day one of this pandemic. A lot of measures and precaution has been taken generally on the economical level, and I expect again, as a continuation of this precautions measures, a lot of policies will be enforced by the CBB. After COVID situation and all the risk threats we can see during now we are based on our experience with the COVID situation, I believe there will be a new policies to cover this cyber security threats and to force the licensees to elevate their security measures to cope with the new threats and security attacks.
Thank you very much, Mohamed. Mohamed, because of the time, we'll move to our next panelist. Thank you very much for all the input you have given. Now we know how the transformation has helped the banks and how it's helping the customers of the banks and how they are taking care of security. They're continuously upgrading their infrastructure for the benefit of their customers. So let's give them a huge round of applause for all the efforts they're doing for the customers. Now moving forward in our agenda, we have the second partner of this event, the CEO of NGN International. He's a co-founder and the CEO, NGN International, NGN Training Center. He has 30+ years of experience in IT business. He has been into the board at various organizations, especially he has spent a large amount of time the C-level executive positions in Battleco. He was the CEO of Battleco in Saudi Arabia. He was COO of Battleco in Jordan, CEO of Anis, if everyone still remembers it, and the general manager of Battleco Enterprise Customers. He's a board member in Bahrain chapter of Entrepreneurs Organization, and he has an MBA from University of Glamorgan from UK. Welcome, Mr. Yaqoob. Can I see you on the camera? So let's the audience see you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Mr. Khalid, I thank you very much for this introduction. I'd like to thank my brother Mish'al Hello for giving us the opportunity to work with him and TBS. And I'd like to thank my brothers and sister in the panel and welcome everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's start with a poll as our tradition we've done for this particular event. May I request Linda to please share the poll? We want to ask audience opinion before we go to our sessions. What would you like to outsource to a managed service company? This is a question for the audience. What would you like to outsource to a managed service company? Security services, your IT services, both of them, or none of them? So Yaqoob will give 10 seconds to our audience. Let them give their answers. Let's see what they have to say. I think we got the answers. Security services and IT services. So 64% of the audience feel that outsourcing is a good option. Thank you very much. We can close the poll. So, Mr. Yaqoob, now since large portion of the audience feel it is wise to outsource both options, so what do you think are the benefits for large enterprise in adopting the managed services?
Well, Khaled, first of all, I thank you for the poll, and the result is also very obvious that managed services has become very mature, and companies have become mature around the world in offering such services. Now, I believe when it comes to managed service benefits for large enterprise, what is very obvious is today the IT colleagues or the people who are in charge of IT, the senior guys, are most of the time busy with the day-to-day IT chores of the business. Managed service allows IT people to be free to talk about strategy, to look into strategy, to look into innovative services. So such services like the day-to-day IT services and even security is easier. This is one of the benefits. However, there are many other benefits apart from focusing on their core business. So sometimes these basic services which are not, I would say, part of the core business, outsourcing them is easier. Secondly, what is important is that these IT managed services are predictable. The monthly services are flat, OpEx bases. And if you look at nowadays when it comes to resources, especially in the security area, the resources are very scarce. And an organization that has to deploy and I would say recruit security experts, they have to buy the technology related to it, train the guys continuously on security and so on, and do refreshment, pay for license. But when you get a service which is flat and predictable, it becomes easier for them. Secondly, obviously, as you know, technology changes a lot. So managed service also gives you future protection, where the next technology comes up and it's included part of a service. These are some of the areas. Most important, honestly, is that you have an SLA, a service level agreement, where in that service level agreement, you have fine detail where you get services. So instead of doing the service, all you have to do is manage the SLA between you and the service provider and ensure you get this kind of service. So this is, in a nutshell, is some of the benefits.
Mohamed, you talked about the SLAs. Now, I understand if it's a big organization, they do have the team to go through the SLAs, and the legal department also put a lot of inputs in terms of making the SLAs watertight. But when it comes to the small to medium type of organizations, what do you think they should do with managed services? Because budget is also constrained. Having more than few employees in the IT department is also restriction for them. So what will be your advice for them?
Well, Khalid, I thank you very much for this question. It is a very important question. I believe, in my opinion, what we have seen today, post-COVID or post-COVID, during COVID, sorry, is that I would say the small and medium enterprises, which form a majority of the business in Bahrain and in the Gulf, most of them are, I would say, promoted by their entrepreneurs who are focused in their area. However, any, I would say, cyber attack into such small, medium businesses or startup business can be the difference between vanishing the business disappearing, or if they get protected or offer such, take such service, allows them to progress. Meaning that these small enterprise, medium organizations are more prone, I would say, to attack. They are easier to attack and easier to collect their data, because as you can imagine, if the data from these organizations are attacked, and this becomes, a critical disaster for such business. So I believe small and medium, they need even more because they don't have internal expertise. However, getting such services will enable them to grow and focus on the area of their strength.
You talked about the cybersecurity in your reply just now. So how do you see the change in the way cyber attacks are happening?
Well, Khalid, what we have seen recently, and I believe Dr. Khalid and the rest of my colleagues in the panel will know. So in the past, traditionally, the attackers or the hackers were hacking financial institutes, governments. Today, we are seeing a different kind of trend. We are seeing healthcare, we are seeing education, we are seeing areas which in the past this was not there. So this is one thing that is different. So you would say, why would somebody attack a healthcare? So what is obvious is that with ransomware and with other kind of attacks, they go after the data, and the data being the most valuable asset of such organization, and they choose organization which they don't have defenses, unlike the government or the, I would say, the banking, which have enough protection and have necessary, I would say, defense mechanism. But they go after education and healthcare to attack them. So typically, this is what we see. This is a shift and trend that is happening globally. And this is why it's important to focus on managed services and bring in managed services rather than investing and having all that technology invested in the enterprise.
So Yusuf, one more question on security.
Please.
Now, if you look at the past few years, all the event organizers, they're talking about security, security, security. They've spent maybe 10, 15 years talking about security. Any event we go, they only talk about security. So do you think the current era of COVID, is the security has already become very much part of everyone's life? Or you still think there is a lot of vacuum for information to be passed to the to the people?
Well, Khalid, what we are seeing today, what we are seeing from the trends that we observe regionally and globally, there are some security gaps, obviously, that need to be filled. But due to the continuous change, the constant change that is happening at different levels, what we find from organizations that they continuously do the investment in the security, whether it's required the people or the systems, the processes, and altogether all three. However, the continuous change and the other factor, which is maybe probably COVID is the biggest factor, maybe my brother Mohamed Bucheeri touched on, is that the increase in the, I would say, the online transaction or the retail activity, the digital transformation, and the exposure that the enterprise gets due to making its service available to its customer makes it continuously exposed, vulnerable to such service. So there is always a gap, and this gap will be continued. And this is why we say that managed services or managed security services is I would say, a safe area where expertise basically try to bring the latest know-how and seal all the gap areas.
Thank you, Mr. Yaqoob. Thanks very much for sharing the useful information. Now we'll go to our final speaker. We always say last but not the least, our speaker. Can I see our speaker on camera?
Yes, Khalid, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Aisha. Now,
Thank
our
you.
speaker, she is chairperson of the Computer Engineering Department and the project leader of BlockSearch project at the University of Bahrain. She was selected as a representative of scientific Bahraini women by the US Embassy in Bahrain, which is a great proud for any Bahraini, especially women in Bahrain. You made us very proud. Thank you, Dr. Aisha.
Thank you, Khalid.
You also participated in the International Visitor Leadership Program, called WISE, Women's Innovations in Science and Engineering in USA. Thank you again for representing Bahrain in USA. You're the winner of the General Secretariat Award in Design and Development of E-Courses at university levels in GCC 2015. You're engaged these days in research and activities on information assurance and cybersecurity, privacy of IoT devices, which is very much required, smart cities, privacy and security, cryptocurrencies, blockchain technologies, in addition to the latest trend in e-commerce technologies and fintech. The list was going on. I did not put all your activities which you do, Doctor. My apology.
No.
But let's take a poll from our organizers. Linda, can we run the poll? A special
Thank you,
question.
Khalid.
And let's hear our audience view on that. Question is, what is your experience for the efficiency of the remote work during COVID-19? Has it increased? Has it decreased? Or no effect? What is your experience for the efficiency of the remote work during the current era of COVID-19? Has it increased, decreased, or it is the same? What is your experience for the efficiency of the remote work during the current era of COVID-19? Has it increased, decreased, or it is same? Ten seconds and we are done with the answers, I guess. Linda? Yes. 67% feel it increased and 21%, it's a big number, which says decreased the efficiency. What would be your take, Dr. Aisha, on this? What do you think? Why some people say increase and 21% say it has decreased?
Well, it depends. Like, you know, Khalid, human nature is not programmed to imagine black swans or what could happen in the future. And the COVID-19 pandemic came as a surprise to all of us. The capability or the ability of humans to adapt to change is not similar. So I believe, like you see on the poll, some people find it really efficient and coped really well. Others thought they needed maybe extra time, extra trust in the systems, or maybe to believe that this is the new trend of working.
True. Doctor, according to you, how did the local education sector and the local market reacted to the COVID situation? Because education and the work environment always go hand in hand. There's no point having education, there's no job, no point having jobs and no education and so on. So how do you think this has affected the local education and the job market?
Thank you, Khalid, and thank you very much for the kind words and the introduction you had earlier today. To answer this question, allow me to remind you of the transformation timeline that happened since February 2020, where on the 25th of February, the suspension of study in the Kingdom of Bahrain was announced, and the private public schools, private public universities, even nurseries went off and stopped teaching. Later on, everyone started to visit their contingency plan, I believe, and try to cope with the changes that has been happening. Let me here focus on University of Bahrain. For us, on the 4th of March, we actually announced the instructions for the precautionary period for the e-learning, and we had an e-learning advisory committee earlier to the pandemic with special experts from the university who were advising the e-learning center on what plans we should have, what strategies we have to set, and what objectives we need to achieve. And thankfully, the e-learning center had saved the university in this pandemic and had a very great vision and mission with a strategy that saved the learning in the university and transformed it into 100% electronic learning. So on the 4th of March, particularly, we have announced the instructions for all faculty members and all students. And by the first week of March, the faculty returned to campus. However, on the third week of March, there was an announcement for 50% of workers to work from home. And then on the 2nd of April, the announcement was about 70% of workers have to work from home. So the university had to adapt with those changes and had to make sure that the learning process goes smoothly, efficiently, and effectively at the same time. So what happened was we initiated training sessions to all our employees, and including administrative and faculty members. And we made sure we recheck our infrastructure and systems to be capable of handling around 4,000 courses to be migrated to online, 100% online sessions. Therefore, we had an online student advisor system and an online support system at the university to help people migrate to online learning 100%. I believe that the university had done a great job in migrating, like I said, more than 4,000 courses online in maybe 2 weeks, and training all faculty members and advising all students to move to 100% online learning also within 2 weeks. And the market or the labor market was ready for that at the same time, because we heard that so many banks, companies, organizations, and institutions have been doing the same.
Doctor, you said 2 weeks, if I heard it correctly. 4,000 courses were made online in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, yes,
Amazing.
maybe even less, because by the 1st of April, I remember that we had announced the grading and assessment system for the e-learning process. So by the first week of April, the University of Bahrain was even ready to assess its students.
First week of April, I accept it. If it is 1st April, I will say it might be April Fool. But tell me, doctor, what were the challenges you faced converting 4,000 courses in 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks? It's amazing. I'm sure our audience want to know about it.
Yeah, well, first I need to highlight.
Considering different background of the students, considering different experiences, the faculty they have, you know, some of them still want to be on paper, and moving them to digital format is a challenge. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for the question. We all know that there is always resistance to change when something new is happening. But thank God, the University of Bahrain was okay with this sudden change because part of our values at the university is to be student-centered, innovative, and technology-driven. So this was the norm at the university from the beginning. And in order for us to provide a world-class learning and teaching university, we had invested in virtual learning environments, and we had very well network infrastructure. We have been working on that, and we have been migrating most of our services to the cloud in collaboration with AWS, as you all know. We have been also using digital technology to enhance the learning experience and to enable students to have flexible learning. Most of our courses were hybrid from the beginning. Part of them were online and the rest was physically taught in classes and laboratories. This have prepared us to shift smoothly to 100% online learning. I don't want to say that it was very easy and no challenges. There were challenges. So let me highlight some of them. For example, the training. We had lack of faculty trained to deliver their classes online because, as you know, some of them come from different colleges that are more into humanities, art, and so forth. We had to train them, and let me just share with you some information here. We trained around 86% of the faculty in 2 weeks to use the learning management system at the university, which is Blackboard. And training was a challenge. The technicality, of course, everyone faces technicality. I mean, today Zoom went off and we had to come back again in this webinar. So there were some regional and international technical difficulties, believe it or not, because most universities went online and used Blackboard at the same time. Most universities around the world as well used Teams, Microsoft Teams at the same time. And these are the two platforms we use at the University of Bahrain to deliver our lectures and laboratory sessions. So we had some technical problems, but thankfully we recovered really well. The capacity of our infrastructure as well, we had to revisit this and to make sure that we migrate fully to the cloud as soon as possible. We faced challenges when it comes to courses because some of our courses, like the engineering college and the science college, have assessments, or the type of assessments are quite different and 100% practical, if you know what I mean. They need to be there in the lab to do their experiments, chemistry or biology or physics. The engineering college have huge test beds for their students to do their practical experiments there. So we had some challenges in some of the courses, but thankfully we made sure that we record some of those laboratory sessions and air them online for the students and publish them online for the students. We faced challenges when it comes to adaptability. The students' adaptability to the e-learning process was a challenge for us as well. So we had the advisory and the hotline available for the students.
We understand a lot
Sorry,
of challenges.
Khaled? Yes, yes.
There's a lot of challenges, of course, and converting the training, the 86% of the faculty and 44,000 programs in 2 weeks is amazing. Now,
yes.
Something comes to mind. Now, all these are good activities, good initiative done, but do you think the curriculum of the university will also go through some kind of a revision which can meet the current and the future challenges?
That's for sure. Actually, we have revisited the curriculum and way of delivering our courses to the students, and the ELC, the English Language Center, has been thinking of embedding the e-learning skills in addition to other soft skills to the foundation program for the new students that are going to join the university, to make sure that they are equipped with the soft skills like leadership, teamwork, communication, and networking, aligned with virtual skills. We want them to learn those skills and have teams virtually, to become leaders virtually, and to network with other colleagues and peers virtually. So this is an idea that has been tackled by the ELC at the university, and they are working on that. In our other curriculum, I can recall that we are trying to train our students to do their laboratories online. So we are using simulators virtually to make the students conduct their experiments online rather than coming physically to the lab. We have utilized this very well at the College of IT, for example. We are also trying to embed the presentation skills and teamwork skills via our virtual platforms, MS Teams and Blackboard Collaborate, to make the students ready to present online, to present their projects and assessments online.
Doctor, before I conclude, one last question for you. Remote learning.
Yeah.
A new trend or a temporary solution?
I was waiting for this question, Khalid, believe it or not. So to conclude, like what I have just said, we already had this part of our strategy at the university, and I'm sure so many institutions and organizations around the world and the region have it as well. So I believe it is not a new trend. It is the now. It is the now big thing. And this is not going to be temporary. It is going to be permanent. And I believe most organizations have to revisit their strategies and plans and utilize the readiness of the audience now to work from home, to commit all their work virtually, to meet online, to deliver their conferences and symposiums online, like what we're doing now. So I don't think this is temporary, and I don't think this is a new trend. This is the now and the future.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aisha, for
Thank you,
useful
Khalid.
information. Thank you, Dr. Khalid, Mr. Mohamed Bucheeri, Mr. Yaqoob, Dr. Aisha. Once again, I would like to thank you very much. But we always need to go back to our audience because they're giving us a lot of time. They have a lot of questions. So let's hear questions from our audience. Now, let me turn off my and get all these questions. I will still ask our audience if they have any questions. Can you please post them? And I have two questions which are here. First question which I have received, both of them are from this almost the same person. The question is for Dr. Khalid. Dr. Khalid, the question is, one of our audience is asking, how are you enabling government bodies in terms of adopting AWS cloud transformation? How is IGA enabling government entities to adopt AWS precautions?
Yes, this is a good question, actually. Thanks for asking this question. I think there are three main areas where IGA support government entities on their cloud journeys. First things I think was the publishing of the cloud first policy, because we remember just a few years ago talking about the cloud is something not acceptable even by top managements. But I think while Bahrain take the leads on that, and they published the first cloud first policy on the region, and they enabled government entities or opened the door for government entities to move to the cloud. So they remove all the the barriers in order to embrace such technologies. Second things, I think, by supporting them with the trainings and education and knowledge. We know that cloud technologies is a new things on Bahrain and a new things on the region. But providing the required support to them, and I think IGA has signed contracts or an agreement with Tamkeens in order to support government entities on trainings in order to build their capabilities for cloud technologies. And the last things IGA is doing is providing professional teams to those government entities in order to take them hand by hand in their journey to the clouds, assisting them on designing the proper architecture, the secure architectures, in order to make sure that when they move to the clouds, they have full confidence and they feel secure while they are operating their environment then. I think these three things was the focus of IGA in order to make this happen in Bahrain, and I think we have done a great job in that areas by migrating more than 60% of government workload to the clouds, taking into considerations that not just AWS was a choice, even Microsoft and other cloud service provider has been utilized for government as a cloud service provider.
Thank you, Doctor. Next question, our chairman of TBS may take this question. Michelle, the question is, we have recently seen many cyber attacks in Bahrain. What are the precautionary methodology which can be taken by anyone? As TBS, I think you have conducted a lot of awareness programs. Maybe you can answer this question.
I believe it's a matter of getting seniors to have the buy-in onto the concept that cybersecurity and information security are business enablers. They are not a side service. It's actually going to empower you to do more and to dare to do more and to reach to a new customer and to utilize those emerging technology in a much comforting status. It's very important to continue investing in cybersecurity. However, what is going on currently requires a lot of collaboration. So I would like to thank IGA definitely for their efforts in making sure to alert everyone through the national cert. We demand to have even more collaboration, especially on the private sector. They missed a lot of maybe advices that could be shared. We have in TPS informal collaboration gathering for around 45 of the chief information security officers in Bahrain. This has happened informally. It's effective. People share information and collaborate. One would like to see more of this. Definitely, nothing is guaranteed to protect you, but you have to manage the security risk wisely. Make sure that your senior people are really aware what are the risks that you have accepted, what are the risks that they can mitigate and manage it properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. I have another question. The question is, since collaboration software have moved from a nice to have to a must have, do you think that there will be more reliance on it after we go back to offices?
So, can you repeat the question, Khalid? Sorry.
Question is, collaboration software.
Okay.
Used to be, it's nice to have thing, but now saying it is a must to have. Do you think it will be very important for them to use after they go back to the workplace?
People got to test it out and see the value of it. People are so efficient in using collaboration software. Today, they can actually focus more, they can make decisions faster, they can do meetings in any time. So they will never go back to traditional meeting or style if even they go back to the office, because that's a feature on their hand and they tested it out. All of those features, believe it or not, were there available for all of those people and no one used it. And all of a sudden they got forced to use it and they liked it. So what are we missing as an IT community? We need to make sure that we can sell those services back to our users and to show them the value. We need to use new techniques, maybe different communication strategies to show them what they are missing. Maybe it could be through a simulation. Now we have opportunities to emphasize that simulating situations are very healthy. People can be more prepared.
May I add, Khalid, to Michelle?
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, I just wanted to share an information that this summer at the university, the business incubator launched a training program throughout 8 weeks. And the sessions are all delivered online as workshops and delivered through professionals from business, marketing, IT, design backgrounds. And they are monitoring the students throughout the program and trying to make them come up with the different skills and competencies to be able to work virtually in the future. So the new generation is now being prepared to work virtually and to utilize those collaborative tools.
Doctor, since you're answering this, so let me put the next question to you, addressed to you. Question is, with the block cert, that is a blockchain in mind, how do you see it evolving during the COVID-19? I think it is in the past and current and future is going to be the same, but the question is, how do you see it evolving in the future?
We have had a pilot experiment with the block certs, and we issued around 400 certificates to short courses delivered by the College of IT. And now that it's hard for the students to reach the university campus, we are going to produce their transcripts and their diplomas through the block cert so they can access them anywhere, anytime. And of course, they are going to be encrypted with the different hash algorithms and secure to be used anywhere and verified through the UOB portal. So this is the coming step.
We'll take the last question, and with that we'll come to end of our question and answer session because of the timing which we have. So, okay, I got two questions, but I will take one. I'll combine these two questions. The question is, what are your individual experiences from this pandemic? And what are the experiences from work from home? So your experience from this pandemic and work from home, if you can combine them together. So we'll go with Michelle.
Thank you, Khalid. I think it was so smooth to me. In a lot of cases, we were bored and we've had to go to the office. There is no reason for us to go, especially in our industry. We managed to provide all services remotely. There is only the human part where you would like to see people and interact physically. And this is something technology not yet we're able to address it. Maybe in the near future, we'll see a better collaboration platform where people can even have this body language and comfort of talking to the camera. Working from home were perfect to me. The only challenging part was how to accommodate the utilization of the internet. If your kids are at home and they're playing games or attending even classes, so you have 4 or 5 people utilizing the internet, that's something that you need to reconsider in the future.
Mohamed, Bucheeri?
Yes. I think I will start with some ironic case recently has been announced on the banking sector. Who is your chief digital officer? And people answering it is coronavirus. I think what happens during this 5 months is a lesson for us.
Yeah, recording the session, be careful.
Yeah. So I think this is a lesson learned. I think the user assisting factor now, it is changed. People need to move digital faster. Thank you.
Dr. Khalid?
I think working from home was a new experience, but it really, as the feedback we get from our employees, it made their life easier, give them more flexibility to organize their times. We have seen many directorates, they have experienced better productivities on their works because people, they have given more freedom to set up times to accomplish their works. There was no traditional ways of working where you can start at certain time and end your job at a defined time. it was you work until you finish your time, but you have the freedom to go and sit, look at your kids. Okay, so I think that it's more flexible experience for them. I think we have to be working more, not as a challenge, but I have seen areas of improvement to work more on security parts, because as a government, you are granting people's access to government systems and data system. You should put some sort of regulations and controls just to make sure that these are safe and secure. Okay, but it is a good experience. I think Bahrain had the policy of working from home before the COVID-19, but it was not fully activated, and it was the right times for this policy to go live, and we experience it. And I think in the futures there will be more improvement to this policy to make it even continuous, so people can continue working from home.
Thank you, Dr. Khalid. Dr. Aisha, just one line with your answer.
Khalid, my colleagues left nothing for me. Even the parenting part has been discussed. So I believe I agree with all of them.
Thank you very much. So with that, we have come to the end of our session for today. Thank you very much, all my panel speakers and my wonderful audience for being so wonderful and being so participant with this event. With that, I'll hand over the control to our chairman, Mr. Hello, to take the control and adjourn the meeting after his address. Chairman,
thank you, Khaled. I would like to thank all attendees first, and as well all the panelists today. I enjoyed the discussions, a lot of new ideas, a lot of new dimensions of the subject. Very interesting, and I would like to have more of these events in the near future. So addressing the attendees, we will be organizing several events in the near future. I would like to also thank NGN, the CEO, Sir Yaqoob AlAwadhi, for their efforts on helping us organizing for this event, and all of their team, actually, and their dedication to the details. Everything was looked at by NGN. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll see you again in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much for the team who are working on the background, especially Mr. Hassan, Olga, Yasmin, Linda. Thank you very much for all the support from the backend. They are our support team who are not seen by anyone right now, but they've been working day and night to make this event successful. Thank you very much once again, and have a good day. Stay safe. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Khalid. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.